It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our daily gun show. Come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern, and we talk about guns for an hour. And it is a very special episode this evening, episode 1212. So that's right, 1,200 and then 12. So 1212. No other gun podcast has ever gotten this far. I don't think any other podcast has ever gotten this far. So this is a very special episode, or a very special episode of the DGS. That's how it's pronounced on the streets, DGS. Daily Gun Show, DGS, DGS. Got some people out there tonight joining us. This is not like your daytime chats, which are cowards. Well, they're not cowards. They're just afraid. And they're afraid to drop links like I do. There's a link right there. Bang. You just click on that link. StreamYard.com/Fibberchicken. And that is the link for tonight. Every night it's a different link. And tonight it is Fibberchicken. And if you click on that link, you'll join in and you'll be part of this conversation. Now there's another way you can be part of this conversation. Clicking on stuff or using your fingers and then typing in things. And then what happens is it appears on the screen and boom, I can go like this. This dude's not even in this country. And he's typing in stuff. This dude is in this country and he's clicking in stuff. And this dude is in this country, he's clicking in stuff. So, it's a conversation. I'm in the middle of a project. It's super cold here and I'm super tired. So I'm just telling it like it is. Look at this. I'm already on. I don't know who this is. Who is this?
Well, I'm DJ's cat, Leapin' Lena Circus Kitty.
Oh, all right. Right on.
Giving it up for the felines tonight.
So taking advantage of the fact that you can type whatever you want when you go into the Duck. So the Duck is the software that we're using to run this thing. And the only reason I like it is because I can do this. And otherwise I'd be using guntube.org, which is better. And from the United States, that makes it better even than that. So anyway, it's Tuesday night. It's the birthday of the Marines. Like, there's any way to not know that. So let's say that you meet somebody and you're not sure if they're a Marine. Do you know how to determine if they're a Marine? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on Marine's birthday. I should say it on the Marine's birthday. It's their birthday. They're 245. They're like our little brothers. You know, they've been around for a while, but not as long as us, so they're okay. But it's their birthday. They're running around. They're probably all drunk right now. I'm sure they're not listening to this. They're telling their stories. This is what you do on your birthday, and you remember the people that ain't able to have the birthday. So let's remember those people as well. Anyway, so besides that, it's episode 1212. Probably dedicated to the 12 gauge. It's kind of like a double barrel 12 gauge because it's 1212 and all that. So we'll see what happens if anybody jumps in. Looks like Barbecue's jumping in.
Good evening.
Good evening. So, like I say, I'm working on a project. I don't like being cut off right in the middle of a project when the show starts, but it happens occasionally when I don't pay attention. And then I'm super distracted. I sometimes I'll close the project. Like if I see the show coming, I'll close it so I don't get like this. But nope, when it comes up out of nowhere at me, like it did today, because I was working on this other project and I didn't think about the show, then bang, like dang it, I gotta do the show. And then I just left the other one open and bugging me. So here's how it is. This is a conversation. If y'all start talking, we'll be sitting here for 5 hours. If you don't, I'm bucking out of here. All kinds of people are showing up. So what are we talking about? It's 12:12.
Well, can you remind me what the Tuesday topic is? We're going to be reforming each day's approach.
Well, since the show's been 1,212 episodes, a lot of gun podcasts don't even last 12 episodes, to be honest. They can't handle it. That would be For a typical show, that would be 3 months, and that would, or maybe 4 months, depending on how often they do the show. And yeah, they end up infighting. All the money gets, spent on wild parties and vacations and stuff, and they fall apart. This show, however, has been around for 1,000-something episodes, so the format's changed quite a bit. Oh, I think maybe around halfway through, we started with the daily segments or the daily topics. So Monday is how to, like being a content creator, valuing your voice, and being part of stuff. So we would do behind the scenes and that kind of thing, the nuts and bolts. And then Tuesdays is easy, 2A Tuesdays, because it rhymes and it's on Tuesday. And then we got Wednesdays was farting around because we just did all the serious stuff. So Wednesdays is entertainment and movies and that kind of thing. We had all kinds of different iterations of that. Thursdays was the training Thursdays, but it's now travel and training. And that's again because it rhymes with Thursday. And then Friday is the industry and tech, because I like talking about the industry, but I also like talking about tech. We've had so many discussions on polymers and types of metals and technologies and stuff. Lots and lots of fun. So anyway, 2A Tuesday. Go.
So do we want to go 12 gauges, or do we want to talk about something else?
I don't care. Bring it up. I'm here to host, not to guide.
Does anybody else have different kinds of shotguns for different things?
Yes, all shotguns are for a thing. That's the problem with them. They're super useful, and then everybody buys a specific one for everything they do with it. Oh, I like shotguns because you can do so much with them. And then I do one thing with every shotgun I have.
Right. It's literally my favorite gun.
I used to like them a lot more than I did now. I don't know. I mean, I like them. They're neat. They are super, super neat. I just don't do anything with them anymore. All the stuff that's neat about them, I just don't do. But if I had like a place to shoot, I think shotguns could be one of the most economical things to shoot, one of the funnest things to shoot. Like if I had a place to shoot and time to shoot and everything, shooting moving targets is like 1,000,000,000 times better than shooting anything paper, in my opinion. So I hear you. I just, in other words, me being mopey about shotguns is just my particular situation. It's not because I think that they're bad or anything.
Well, Woods, you're a waterfowler. Can you speak to kitting out for different seasons?
Well, but I live in Washington, so we just have the one season called rain and then more rain. So like I don't have to kit out for like winter. Like it doesn't get that cold. Longer barrels are better if you're duck hunting.
What about different hunting seasons?
I only really ever hunt duck, but I mean, there's definitely places in Washington where it's populated enough, but still wooded, where you can, hunt with, buckshot and whatnot. But I've never done any of that.
I'm a big double barrel side by side guy myself. Have a small collection of those.
Yeah, I've got a coach gun that might be, now it's punishing to shoot, but like if you shoot a watermelon or something, that's just fun all day long.
Absolutely. I actually want to get a true coach gun. Everybody's like, oh, just buy a double barrel, cut it down. I'm like, yeah, I like double barrels too much to cut one down.
I've shot the piss out of my Stoker one, and I know it's not American made, but I've shot the tar out of that thing over the years. And yes, I bought it just because of Evil Dead. Although mine's the 12 gauge, not the 20. In the movie, it's a 20. Although he says it's a Remington, and it's not. Sorry, that would be for tomorrow.
I wonder if that ever just annoys manufacturers where they know their gun's being used in a movie and then it gets called by another manufacturer's name.
Well, like the Raimi brothers that made the movie, they didn't know anything about guns. They just made it up because it sounded funny in their thing. They were just being stupid. I mean, it's the same movie that they bought almost all of the corn syrup in New Jersey where they were filming it because they needed to make us nut blood. But now we're getting off topic. Does anybody else have a particular brand that they're a big fan of? I'm a huge Mossberg fan. I'm not hating on Remington or any of the other brands, but push comes to shove, I'm going to buy a Mossberg.
Mossberg was always. Sorry, what's that, G?
I grew up with Remington, so I never even had Mossbergs. I don't think I've ever owned them. I don't think I've ever even owned a Mossberg. So I've only ever known Mossbergs when I was older and other people had them and I fiddled with them. So I'm just warped. I like Remington.
I'm going to go in left field here and toss out one. The old Sears and Roebucks, J.C. Higgins, Montgomery Ward's guns. I absolutely love those shotguns.
Who are they made by Savage or something?
Because
they didn't make them.
Yeah, no, they didn't make them. I think Fox used to make them, then it was Savage. I heard, I just picked up a Montgomery Ward's 16 gauge double barrel not too long ago, and I heard that was actually made by I think Western Field, which was made by
Western Field is Mossberg.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because I have a Western Field 500 that was called like a 550 or something, but I put all my other 500A stuff in it, and it works great. So it's Mossberg.
Oh, nice.
But those are one of the ones if you're like at a gun show and you can pick them up. The one thing I love about Mossbergs too is the weird ejector that has a little screw in there, and on the Remingtons it's welded to it. But in a lot of Mossbergs that screw breaks, and then they think the gun's fucked up. I've done it in my life maybe 3 or 4 times where I bought a Mossberg receiver that they's like it's all fucked up, and all the thing was wrong with it was that little ejector. I go to my drawer that have extra ones of those from other guns, screw a new one in, throw a barrel on it. Amy, I have a new gun.
That's not it's off topic, but there's some things that revolvers can do that are the same way. Somebody will sell it because they think it's broke. You take it home, you fiddle with it, and it works just fine.
Yeah. So now I'm kind of with G. I think I actually prefer Remington over Mossberg, which I don't know why, because growing up it was either the J.C. Higgins guns, because my grandfather had a bunch of them, and then when he passed, all of his kids got them, and so it was time to go small gaming or something. Here's this gun, and those had the adjustable chokes that you just turn it on the end to change it and everything. Fun. But if it wasn't that, then we had Mossbergs. Then when I bought my very first shotgun myself, it was an 870 Super Mag, and something about it I just absolutely loved.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not at all hating on Remington. Maybe some of the ones that were made by Freedom Group, I'm like they're arguably not as great, but I'm not hating on the gun. Even then, they're a solid gun. You're not gonna 99% of them are gonna shoot just fine the whole life, and you can hand it to your kid. I'm not saying anything against them.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's like Ford and Chevy, right? Like there's maybe some things that one or the other is better, like excel at because of their characteristics, but for the most part, they overlap so much. It's just preference.
Right. I like that. Did anybody else ever shoot? I'm assuming what he's saying is when you pull the birdshot out and you fill it full of wax and you pulverize like weird shit.
Well,
yeah, nut shells are a good time too.
Yeah, because I've taken all kinds of crap and cut the off of H or something.
Wax shells and cut shells are different, right? Where you put wax just down a shotgun shell into like birdshot and let it cool. You can just shoot that. But if you take that same birdshot and don't bother with the wax and just cut like whatever 80% of the way around there, then you shoot that you can still shoot it that way. So that's 2 different things, isn't it?
Right.
And I don't know. I don't think I've ever done any testing. I've never bothered to watch anybody do testing. There must be some difference, I suppose, downrange. Is there?
I've heard of people cutting like a spiral around the shell. And I like you said, G, I've never done it, never done any testing with it or anything like that. But from what I've heard, I got a couple of buddies that said they did it, and they said it was absolutely devastating compared to just firing the normal shot. How
No,
that
we've
changes
done it.
anything is beyond me.
We've done it. I've done both before.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just what we used to do when we were kids because that's just a fun way to blow stuff up, like a thing of water or whatever. But I'm just saying, I never like had a bunch of watermelons or a bunch of jugs of water and had like some kind of side by side comparison or anything. I'm sure somebody on YouTube has. But I'm just saying, I haven't ever. I've only done them like occasionally, and it's usually one or the other. Almost never wax. That's usually like one of my uncles would bring something down, be showing my dad, and then I seen it, right? But cut, anybody can cut shells. I mean, that's what you do when you're hunting just to play around, like shoot something while you're hunting, shoot it with birdshot, nothing happens. You cut the shell, something happens.
I've definitely done the waxers where if we were just talking about pouring wax into like shitty birdshot and just trying to keep them together so it fucking hits stuff.
Like when it's almost like pepper.
Yeah, but then we were like I've talked to before. Me and my friends were just super unsafe back in the day. We would cut shells and like jam fucking gummy bears in there and just see what the fuck it would do. So,
oh yeah. I don't want to talk about too much of that, but yeah, that's one of the things I was saying. Like shotguns are super fun for just playing with. I mean, I suppose it could be a little bit dangerous, but it's almost not because they're so big a bore that unless you're really messing around, you're not going to get anything stuck in there. What about this one with the caliber conversions? Got a set of those from back in the day, and I thought they were really neat. They're novel, they're neat, but I was playing with a lot of them, and as soon as you carry a lot of them, they're just basically the rods of steel with a hole drilled in them, so they're very heavy. And when you have a bunch of them, they become very heavy quickly. So having one or two is neat. Having a mess of them so that you can encounter any caliber and be fine is a little less appealing. Oh, have you guys used caliber conversions at all?
I have not, but I've heard of a lot of people that are trying to come up with wildcat rounds actually doing it because they're only doing a couple of rounds at a time, experimenting, and the receiver obviously gives the receiver on the shotgun obviously gives them a solid backing where they don't have to worry about blowing up the gun in their face. So on that aspect, I thought they were pretty neat, but nothing I ever got into.
I used to have one of those ones that goes from 12 to 20 for my double barrel, but I only had one of them, and it was all right.
Those are totally different, actually, because that's more like a sleeve where it doesn't have much weight to it. And just as I was saying that, I was thinking of the one that I actually do think is a deal where you have a 12, and then it's got that sleeve to take it to 20, and then you take that down to 410 or 45 because it's the same thing, and then you take that down to 22, and it does become technically solid metal, right? But there's so many cuts in it and it's so practical. You can shoot 45 Colt, 45 or 410. You can shoot 20 and 22, and that means two different kinds of 22. And technically, what do you call those things? The impact hammers or whatever. So if you had to do some kind of improvisation thing in a hardware store, you could still do something with that thing. So that is a little different. But those sleeves, I mean, what do they weigh? They probably weigh less than a shotgun shell that's got lead in it.
Yeah, they're not much.
And depending on what you got going on, I think there's probably some ingenious ways you could cram that into a stock or into a grip even, where they'd kind of be tucked out of the way when you weren't using them. But then it would effectively, especially on a double barrel or a single shot, like effectively make your gun both 12 and 20. Because there's really no difference at all splitting one of those sleeves in between 20 and 12 in a shotgun. I mean, unless you're shooting slugs, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Safety on top, I don't like it. The first time I encountered a Mossberg was one that had a bad spring, I guess. So the safety on top kept slipping down, and then so it was always on safety, and you had to kind of hold your hand up there. And that's why I was like, that was my first experience, and I was like, oh, why would I want this gun ever? Not that I loved the side bolt, the cross bolt. I didn't even like the cross bolt until I've seen aftermarket things that look like R2D2's head that you put on both sides, so that you can actually not have to fiddle with it. You can just kind of use the rest of your finger to flip it on and off. That's the only way I even like those is with an aftermarket. But that top one, like I say, my first experience was one that was broke, and it would just always flip on every time you shot it. Drove me nuts. And I don't know how often that actually breaks, but drove me nuts.
I've always liked the Tang safety. Only for hunting purposes, I always found that I could take the safety off very, very quietly, as opposed to a crossbolt safety. It just always made this god awful clunk when I would.
Yeah, it gets to that point, and then like a detent or whatever, it flips over.
Yep.
Nothing you can do.
But I also have rifles with the Tang safeties, and shotgun or rifle, I've never experienced a problem. So that might have just been a one-off thing for you, G.
I've shot enough, but I don't mind either one, because my hunting shotgun is a Stoeger M2000, and that's crossbolt. And then a bunch of my other shotguns that I shoot all the time, those are regular Mossberg with on the thumb. And I don't seem to really have a problem one way or the other. Where are you going?
Yeah. I don't think the crossbolt safety making that noise is as big as an issue as I make it out to be. But it just in my own head, when I'm like, all right, be quiet, it's right there, do this, do that. And then I go and take off that safety and I hear that noise. I'm like, oh, shit, every time.
Anybody got any old school single barrels? Gotta love those.
Oh yeah, I am Mr. Ivor Johnson. Twice a year, I give my dad a long shotgun. I do the refin on all the furniture, and just make them brown boy specials. And yeah, I load him up every year. Probably my favorite one so far was last birthday. I gave him a Matt Rib side by side double hammer. And that thing was just wicked cool. Kind of reminded me when he's a big dude, but when he went to put it up on his shoulder and swung that long ass barrel out there, it was classic. It was pioneer shot for sure.
I've got one from my grandfather. It sold, I believe it was black powder last time it was fired. And it was the last time it was fired was in the 40s, where my aunt, when she was a little kid, was being chased by wild dogs in Nebraska, and my grandfather shot it, and one of the seals fucked up and it burned off the side of his face. He's okay. He lived many years after that, but it's one of those heirlooms that I've looked at when I was growing up. I knew my dad had it in his closet, and then when they moved a few years back, when I was helping him move, all of a sudden it ended up with me. Weird.
Yeah, I'm not going to be the fortunate ancestral recipient of my maternal grandfather's shotguns, one of which he employed to attempt the dispatch of a burglar who came into their home in the Depression and was going through his overalls on the foot of the bed. Grandpa grabbed the shotgun, guy ran out the front door, crossed the field, and he filled his ass full of shot, and next county over, 2 days later, the guy was having the lead pulled out of his ass.
I like it.
I've got I think it's a New England Arms single shot, 12 gauge, and that is the worst kicking firearm that I have. Holy cow!
How long's the barrel?
I'm not 100%. I'm thinking probably 22, maybe 24 inches.
Yeah,
Not very long.
those HR toppers are they pop pretty good too.
Yeah, I've got one of those too. I can agree with that.
Yeah, got to go left hand over. Yeah, kind of speaking of freaks, I got a buddy right now who's holding on to a Savage side by side that somebody chopped and ported with like
Ow.
40 eighth-inch holes just all up and down the end of it. It looks really sly though. It kind of looks like a Cowboy Bebop sort of gun.
That's going to be loud and painful.
Oh yeah, I'll take it. for $100, I'll buy that for $1.
Yeah, for sure. Oh yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't shoot the fuck out of it, but I kind of know what I'm getting myself into.
Yeah, any double barrel for $100 is worth it.
Right. That coach gun I got, super fun to shoot, but let's be honest, if you shoot a box out of that, you're going to regret it for a day or two. You know, that little shoulder hurt that you have that you're like, it's satisfying, but you know that you did that.
It's like dumping a load out of my Browning A5. You know, it's a pleasure, but it's a pain.
Right.
Field, yep.
And I just got a Black Aces, one of those Pro Sport Minis, the little 10-inch one that they made with the brace, just so the ATF can bite me.
Have you taken it out yet?
Yeah, it's a fun gun, but at 10 inches, it's punishing if you put double up buck in there. You better be ready.
Yeah. So tell me about that manufacturer and your experience with them so far.
I'm only like 200 rounds into it, but I bought it really close into the pandemic, and I paid maybe $550 for it, and it seems like a solid gun. I mean, I know not everybody loves them, but it seems like it's put together well.
Where are they out of?
Florida, but then when you get there, I don't know if they make them there or did they just import them to there. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't get into like huge amounts of like where it was made if it's a gun I want. I do like the fact that they're making a lot of lever guns. They're 12 gauge, and I kind of like that idea. I mean, I know they've been doing that for years, but nobody's really been doing it effectively for a long time.
What is that one that has a really tall, flat receiver that dips out in a half moon back behind the trigger guard? It's a lever shotgun.
Is that the Black Aces one? I'm not sure.
No, this is something that would be
Like old?
Yeah, like 1870s.
Yeah, I don't know. I like all the words you used, but I don't know what it is.
You're talking a lever shotgun or a pump shotgun?
A lever. And it's almost like a golden boy, like Henry looks on the side, but I don't think it is though.
There's a Winchester lever shotgun that somebody made, and the one that you're talking like the one he uses in Terminator, the Terminator on the motorcycle.
That's it. That's the one. Is that the Winchester?
I think that's Winchester, but it's probably remade one because those things are expensive and there wasn't that many of them and they're fragile. But the other thing is that's fake in that movie. The lever, the throw on it is sort of articulated. So it's the whole trigger guard and everything. So and it might even be the trigger because it's sort of articulated. As you pull it down, the whole trigger group, I think, comes down. I mean, it's old, so they didn't know what they were doing. Well, it's Browning, but still, he was just figuring stuff out still. So it drops the whole action like out. Anyway, it does work and everything, and it must have worked just fine because they still use it. It's just that you basically have to take that lever and almost do like a 180. You're almost bringing it up to the barrel, like it's almost like folding it in half. So in the movie where he's fiddling with it with one hand, like there's just no way you're pulling it. It's like an extension ladder. You're pulling it down and then down again. There's like a pivot and a fulcrum and stuff. So I'm sure when you're holding it like at your hip, it's not so bad. But when you're like holding it at a gun shop and it's just more like you're just trying to clear the thing instead of actually operate the thing, It's just super awkward, and it's just not appealing to me. And it's super heavy. Oh my goodness, big heavy old gun. But if you like them, I think it's the only thing you got. There might be another gun from Italy or something that was similar, but there was really not a lot of them.
Somebody who can get his hands on a lever action shotgun right now is 2Live Moo. Him and I have talked about it several times. I told him he needs to look and see what it is because I've got a 1899 Savage in the takedown model, and those takedown models, some of them used to come with a 410 barrel as well, which I don't have the 410 barrel for mine. I don't even know if it ever came with it because I got it from my grandfather and he got it from his grandfather, so very old. But I told Moo, I was like, you might want to see if by chance it's one of those old Savage takedowns, because if you can get your hands on one of the rifle barrels, those things are going for close to $2,000 as the set. I would like to find the 410 barrel just to have it, but I'm having no such luck.
Well, one of the solutions to to a lever 410 is the Henrys right now. Henry, I think the model is called the Axe. It's shortened stock lever 410, and you can go. I'm pretty sure you can go 45 long Colts in those too.
Yeah, it seems like a neat setup. What do you?
I think they're about $700.
Yesterday's talking about, what do you think of some of those? I had one back in the day that was I don't remember if it was 22 on top or bottom. I'm saying bottom, and a 410 on top, or no, a 20 gauge on top, because I've never had a 410.
No, the rifle is usually on top because you gotta aim the rifle easier.
Okay. I didn't have it very long, but it was kind of a neat little. It was a neat little.
Seen sort of a inconcentric or whatever ones where they'll have the side by side with the narrower barrel on the one side, but I don't know how many of those happened over here. Those might be European.
I have a Savage, I believe it's model 24F, but that is a 30-30 over 20 gauge.
Oh, I'd be in on that.
Oh, really?
Talk about multi-purpose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Break
whatever you want. Go nuts.
Yeah, it's freaking awesome.
Break open?
Yep.
Yeah, 30 and 20 gauge?
Yep. And then just cock back the hammer, and there's a little piece on the hammer that you flip up or down for whichever barrel you want to shoot.
Just like a marbles game getter. I've shot a bunch of those. 410 and 22 are the most common, but those things are a blast. Wire folder. It's fun giving somebody at a show those out of the case and seeing how, having them try to figure out how to switch barrels and such. I love demoing those things.
I like anything that's grandfathered in the NFA.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send you a photo of that later, G.
What do you think of SBS's land on the function to cool sale? Oh, I see what you're saying. So where do you think SBS's short barrel shotguns are on a scale from function to cool?
I don't know. Function wise, I think they'd be great for home defense as far as function goes. The cool factor, it depends on how you're using it, I guess. But I don't know. Just an old double barrel coach gun that's cut down real short. To me, there's not much cooler than that.
But then we get into the old debate, and I'm not against it because I mean I bought this Black Aces, which is kind of that. It was just a way for Black Aces to tell the ATF to get fucked, which one of the reasons I bought it. But then if you use shotguns for home defense, you're responsible for every projectile that comes out of that. And not that I'm necessarily against that, but that's something that you got to put in the equation too. Especially if you're doing short, then chances are all the projectiles are going to go in a vast area, which you might not want it to go over there.
What I would like to get my hands on is a leopard gun.
Say again.
Leopard gun, you ever hear of it? Basically, it like a leopard.
Oh, okay, leopard. Gotcha.
It's not ethical to shoot leopards.
Well, unless they have it coming.
Yeah, I mean, if they're trying to eat like your livestock or something, I'll give them a pass. But no, basically all it is a shotgun cut down to be fired with one hand. This is essentially a handgun at that point, and
so
mad patterns. It kind of patterns like leopard spots, I guess. Obviously that's NFA at that point, but they're pretty neat.
That sounds like it would hurt.
So SBS's is function to cool. All shotguns should be short unless you're doing something far away, because short shotguns are way better. I've had an opportunity to shoot just about every kind of short shotgun there is, and they're way better. I've shot everything. We've shot skeet and trap and everything with short barrels, really short barrels. We got Cerbus, which are 3 shots, so they're only 2 shots long in the barrel, in the magazine, and that's how long the barrel is. It barely goes out past that. A shotgun barrel's kind of thick in the chamber and it goes out to the barrel. It's barely even goes out to the tapered out barrel. And you can shoot skeet with those all day long. They're super fun. Well, maybe not skeet, but shooting a trap, throwing your own traps out, or having somebody throw traps out. You can do that all day long with no barrel. It does spread a little bit, but I believe that's fallacy. Again, I don't know if anybody's done any tests or whatever, because we've shot with judges, Taurus judges, which are revolvers basically with hardly any barrel, Cerbus, and 14, 16-inch guns, whatever, I guess not 16, 18-inch guns, 18 and a half, whatever it has to be for a shotgun. And you'll still get a stray once in a while with anything, for sure. But as far as group and stuff, we can, we'll get the same softball fist size thing with Cerbu as with real shotgun. So anyway, I think taking the barrel off of a shotgun makes it way better. It's super dangerous potentially, just because you're always moving a shotgun around for the most part. It is a gun that's designed to shoot at things. So I can understand why they make the barrels real long, because it's real easy to stop or control or see where somebody's shooting a long one. But if you're competent and it's safe and everything, short ones are amazingly fun. It's like suppressors. You don't think about how awesome they are until you get behind one. And then you're like, oh, well, every gun should have one of these and they should be free. All shotguns should be short. And I don't know, like I say, I think there's a purpose for every shotgun, and a short little, like a Outlander. Everybody see Outland? Or Outland, not Outlander. But there's a movie called Outland with Sean Connery.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That semi-auto, that's like the perfect shotgun right there, like the perfect multi-use. Now, when he says function to cool, I think you guys all went to CCW, or you guys went to home defense, I guess. I go to function where I'm never in the rule of law ever touching a shotgun. This is what you said. The pellets matter. And in your house, why would you want to shoot your TV or your expensive vase or your crystal? I got crystal everywhere here, everywhere. And I like to look at it. So it's on glass shelves behind glass doors, right? Everywhere. And I don't want that stuff getting broken. It's some of my favorite possessions. And I have that stacked between all my plates, my commemorative plates, and I get porcelain spoons, and I have that stuff everywhere. So there's no way I'm using a shotgun. Now, everything goes to hell. by Wednesday, I think everything's supposed to go to hell. All the doom and gloomers, all the mopes, I think have a schedule for Wednesday. Tomorrow, everything's going to hell. Then you're going to be out there doing all kinds of heinous, horrible shit just to not get killed, and because you're going to go kill, I don't know, to get something to eat, whatever. You're going to do all kinds of horrible things. Everybody needs little short shotguns for that kind of horribleness. But still, the problem with shotguns is always going to be loading them and carrying ammo for them. So they're never appropriate, but practical wise, like in a vehicle, or again, like some person who isn't a gun person, a short shotgun that's got a reasonable amount in it, like that one in Outland. What do you figure he had 5 in there still, even though it was short?
Yeah,
4?
totally.
Or, oh man, Outland gun, whatever, because that's basically a semi-auto where it's cut off right at the end of the magazine tube, or right at the end of the handguard, I should say, so that the magazine tube is just not extended. Because that was another thing. Back in the day, it was fun to extend magazine tubes to get more rounds in there, since you had to have a long barrel anyway. But if you're not trying to get a long barrel because of laws, you just stop at the magazine end of the magazine tube, which I think it's 4, because it's for hunting, right? So it's 4, 1 in the tube. If you get those short shells, though, that might be 6 or something, 7 even. I don't know. I never watched a video on that. But those short shells might be something too. But anyway, that Outland gun, I think, would be the perfect for, like, what's that movie everybody likes or watches? Walking Dead. That would be that. If you were in that kind of situation where you're walking around and it's Mad Max type of days, semi-auto, pump, cut off at the end of the mag well. That's the perfect size shotgun. I think if you look back in the real old days, unless you were hunting, and that was like somebody who was going out like hunting for everybody's Sunday meal. So they were going to go out and go hunting all Wednesday and Thursday and come home with a big wagon full of ducks or something. I'm pretty sure that's how it was in the Old West. I think most people, if you look at all the guns, they're all coach guns. They're all like, I got to get through the door. I got to, whatever. I don't want somebody grabbing the barrel on this for no reason. If they're couple of feet away from me, I don't want them having control of the end of my gun. And all the guns are maybe not as short as some of the movies, but if you look at like museums and stuff, there's only a couple of long shotguns out there. And if there was long shotguns, they were cut back in the day, like they were cut down back in the day. So I think that shows you that in reality, back as we were growing up as a country, short shotguns were the style at the time.
Which Western was it, and was it based in fact? I can't remember. It was one of those like Deadwood films or something like that, where somebody had their shotgun loaded with silver dimes. What gauge is that? Is that
Tombstone? That's Tombstone. No, 12 gauge, I think.
Yeah, I've done that.
Oh yeah.
It works pretty good. It's not great.
So they just tumble.
Yeah,
it costs like $1.20 or something, and 80 cents to $1.20, depending on the dimes. I think old dimes were $1.20. Or I remember the old Nam guys telling me it was like some joke, like you'd say like that was worth 80 cents. You'd be like, what does that mean? Like it's worth shooting a bunch of dimes at that guy, or like we're shooting a bunch of dimes to see what was happening over there, because they would cut down trees, or not trees, but cut down leaves and shit with that.
Winchester's actually doing that with I think they're PDX rounds for shotguns, where they'll actually have like slug plates inside the shell, along with like 5 or 6 pellets of double-aught buck.
That sounds fun.
For when the duck is behind some reeds and stuff.
Well, the ducks they're all in league with ISIS. So I hate them little bastards. What else we got?
Like that's it. That the shotguns can't even keep an hour. We got 45 minutes, and we completely exhausted all shotgun chat. Solid shotguns.
We solved them. It's done. Did anybody else ever hunt with shotguns?
Oh yeah.
It's almost all I ever hunt with, but I just don't hunt that. Out here, people hunt with rifles, but it's sort of like, oh, you're from back east. Like, oh, you need a rifle? Okay. Because either you're archery hunting or like doing something else. Because I guess when you grow up out here and you're used to shooting long range and doing sneaking up on stuff, it's more of a, they feel more of a challenge, or they feel like, probably more of a challenge, right? Like they feel like they're exercising their skills maybe more. I guess that's the same thing, challenge.
Yeah, game stalking, totally.
But yeah, getting closer, sneaking up on them, being in the right place. They get way more into that than just having a gun that can get out and, oh, I'm going to get out of my car, walk across the street, see that deer 700 yards away, pop.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yesterday out there, I've got friends that hunted deer with shotguns, but I've never done it.
That's back east, right? Where you stand up in a tree and put some salt on the ground and wait for the big one to walk by and then shoot it on the top of the head, like straight down.
Man, salt isn't cool.
Yeah, being a waterfowl only, the one I can definitely tell you, if you're in a kayak and you're going to shoot, don't shoot to the side.
Oh, wow.
I've watched a bunch of my friends where I'm like, don't do that. And then sure enough, they dump their kayak. I'm like, okay, well, luckily we're on little lakes and rivers and stuff. And I'm like, we'll go over there and get the fuck out of the kayak. You're going to have to drain it out.
Yeah, I imagine that's annoying because all that stuff is probably pretty heavy. Like all the fish and stuff, half of it floats or it's just a bunch of empty space because of the hooks take up space. So there's, you got empty areas, but with guns, it's like all densely packed. Everything's heavy. I guess you can have a cord on some stuff, but unless you're anticipating rolling over, you probably lose a lot of stuff.
I'm not saying I don't ever shoot from the kayak, but I generally like paddle to a place where I know there's dry land. Because usually it's a marshland and it changes over time, but I know where I can stand and I know where I'm going to sink in the mud. And then I get out and do whatever I got to do and then get back in the kayak and go get it.
I feel like if you're going to shoot from a kayak to the side, just shoot another duck that's equidistant to the other side.
Just shoot the other way real quick? Okay.
Yeah, because it could be like, oh, okay, we're even, no worries.
Math, excellent, yeah.
Plus, that's more fair to the ducks.
Do I shoot the wrong way first and then shoot the duck? Just give them an extra chance to run away.
Here in Illinois, hunting is shotgun or muzzles only.
When I started hunting, we had a family tradition where your first year you had to take out a shotgun with the good old pumpkin balls and use that. I don't think any of us ever got a deer with that. But then after that, we were allowed to use a rifle.
Getting all kinds of crazy feedback. What pumpkin? What now?
Pumpkin balls, slugs. Let's say probably a Eastern thing calling them pumpkin balls.
I don't know what that is.
Please describe.
It's just a slug.
So you don't like paint them Pennsylvania orange or something crazy like that, or go out after the pumpkin chunkers?
No, I honestly don't know why we do call them pumpkin balls. I should look into that sometime, but never really thought about it before.
Probably because of the other.
Do you guys have pumpkin chunking in Pennsylvania?
I'm sure somewhere does. Never really looked for it. There's a local amusement park that's been around for well over 100 years that's just trying to stay in business at this point. So every year they drop a gigantic pumpkin on a car as a fundraiser. So that's pretty neat. Where the hell they get such a big pumpkin is beyond me.
Ask Woods; they grow them up there.
Literally across the street from the school, they've got a huge farm it's not owned by the tribe or nothing, but they have like a giant slingshot, and you could take your kids in there, and they could shoot like the smaller pumpkins out into the field. Try to hit.
Pumpkin chucking is a huge thing in the Midwest, and people make trebuchets, people do compressed air, all kinds of crazy stuff, and there are competitions, and there's like a national competition. I think it's in Illinois or Indiana, and it's a festival. It's days and days long, and these people bring in their stuff on.
They have one up here in Kansas that's similar to that.
Say, heck, they made a TV show out of it.
Right. There was a guy up north here that used to have a trebuchet, and every year he would take a bunch of Volkswagen Bugs, and he would fling them to the other side of his field, and then the next year he'd fling them the other way. He had like 20 of them, just because he could.
Hey, G, I sent you an email of that 30-30 over 20.
Does anybody ever shoot any of the weird calibers, like 28 gauge or? I always want to fire it.
I would shoot a 28 gauge if I could find one, but I don't ever. Son of a.
8, 10, 12, 16, 20, 28, 410. That's what I've done. 8 is punishing.
Oh, I bet.
Oh my God.
I got to fire a 10 gauge the one time. That was a blast. No pun intended either.
Yeah, I need to get.
We try not to pun on the Daily Gun Show, which is sophisticated chat, no gun pun.
I also like to always tell the story about dual wielding side-by-side double barrels, and one was a 12 gauge, the other one was a 16. So when you fire off all 4 barrels at once, because both of them had the double triggers on them, it made for the recoil being a little funky, being as, like I said, one's 12 gauge, the other one was 16, but that's pretty awesome.
They're saying a pumpkin ball is just a 69 caliber round ball. So when I was a little kid shooting black powders, you'd shoot like just a round ball, and yeah, those things were. I didn't like shooting them because I just thought they were cool, having like a big giant, like almost like a ball bearing made out of lead. But shooting that out of a shotgun, I don't know where the hell that would go. I guess just in a big corkscrew. Or some kind of random corkscrew if it's not even rifled.
Dipsy doodle.
I'm pretty sure you're scared of shooting a ball. Like, you ever seen a golf ball go? Like, they curve, you know? So, like, shoot a round ball out of a shotgun and feel like it'd curve around like a boomerang, potentially shoot you in the shin or something.
Yeah, definitely are. Like one way or the other.
Yeah, right? At least it's going to go down. Like, it's not going to go up because of the lead. So it's only going to hit you in the legs, but I'm just afraid it's going to come right back and hit you in the leg.
Anybody able to figure out what a 69 caliber would be in a gauge?
Yeah, 12, I'm guessing. He said that's what a pumpkin ball would be.
Yeah, isn't that just 12 gauge?
I mean, I'm guessing.
That's what I was wondering.
All right, what was the first shotgun you ever bought? We got to make it to 10.
Remington 870 Express Magnum, $175, pawn shop, age 19.
Nice.
Ever bought with my own money and didn't just do work for an exchange would have been my Remington 870 Super Mag. But if you're talking about just first shotgun that I ever earned in any way, my uncle got a hold of me and said, hey, I needed my basement painted. So I painted his basement, and then he gave me an old Springfield side-by-side 12 gauge.
Mine being a Mossberg 8-shot when I was 19, when I thought pistol grips were a good idea. But I didn't really hunt anything with it. That was just for camping and just being silly. What about you, G? Did you ever buy a shotgun when you were younger?
Yeah, when I first got, I bought a shotgun, first one I could buy, and then can't even imagine how many shotguns over the years. But yeah, the first one was or my first gun I bought was a shotgun. At one point, I thought they were. Well, I mean, I guess it's still worth having. Everybody should have at least one pump shotgun, and then I guess at some point you should also have some sort of break open shotgun. And beyond that, that's up to you. But you're not really a gun person if you don't have at least a pump shotgun, right?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Or you don't maybe not have to own one, but you would definitely be willing to own one. You know, so like if there's some circumstances like you're poor or something, like then yeah, you don't have to have one. But you got to be willing to have one, even like me, where I'm not a big fan of them. Or you have to have owned one and decided, like me, that they're not all that great, and you trade it in for something you like better. That's fine too. But I don't think you could be a gun person and be like, oh no, shotgun. Like Trump could take the shotguns.
I don't know. Even if you're poor, like those J.C. Higgins shotguns I was talking about earlier, you can find those for $100 sometimes.
Oh, I know, but I don't want poor people to just because something's cheap have to clutter their lives with a bunch of cheap stuff. Those things are great for specific things only, and then they're totally worthless, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, if you're super poor and you're a little old lady, super poor old little lady, or super poor nun, or super poor orphan, maybe. If it's legal for the orphan to have, then maybe a shotgun's the way to go. A single shot, like you're saying, because that's super easy. Stick it in your armpit. One lever opens the thing. The other lever pulls the trigger on the thing. Right. That's it. Two levers. Done.
I
Well,
think
maybe
if you're an old lady, double barrel is an absolute must-have.
I don't know about the double barrel. That might be getting heavy because it's not like old ladies defending the homestead anymore. But I guess circumstances. If it's a strong little old lady. If it's a little old lady that's been shooting 9mm her whole life, basically handicapping herself by making her muscles just dwindle away, then we're not going to burden her with a double barrel. She'll never be able to do that.
Well, I mean, if the Billboard Hillbillies taught us anything, the granny could shoot the shotgun.
For sure. And grandmas can always set it on something. They can always set the barrel on something and get behind there and pull the trigger. All you got to do is pull the trigger and aim.
Yep. Anybody else feel like there's just a certain intimidation factor that a double barrel has over any other firearm?
Nah. All you got to do is put 2 fingers in there. Form the number 2, like 1, 2, poke them in there, and there's nothing they can do. You basically disable their gun.
Bugs Bunny taught us a lot.
Yep. A lot of times they're not going to realize the physics of it. They're going to pull the trigger and blast their own eyes all out. So, I'm saying no. Look at this guy. Does he have a holster for it?
I never had a 410.
You never had a 410.
I went right to 20 gauge.
They like shotguns. Wait a minute. Do I have a 410?
So I'm out of the club now because I never had a 410. I've shot 410s. I just never owned one.
I don't know. Maybe I don't have a 410 anymore. I might not have a 410 either.
I have to turn in my shotgun card now.
Well, just going around lording it over everybody how shotguns are so great, you don't even have a 410. That's all I'm saying.
I want to get a Rossi circuit judge just so I can have a revolving 410.
You gotta go get your arm. Get like how when you're you're looking at your hand and you got fingers and you got a thumb and then you got a wrist and that little tender part there that's right between your arm and your wrist. Go burn the shit out of that with one of them before you go back.
I take it you've done that?
No, I just imagine you're going to put a revolver on a gun. That's a reason why that didn't work. Now they put a little tiny shield there. This little piece of like aluminum can bent around over there. It makes it look great. But I'm guessing if they had to go to all the trouble of bend a piece of aluminum can and put it on there, it's because people are burning the hell out of that part of their wrist. Maybe I'm
That's
crazy.
a possibility. I know my ex's sister took her first deer using one of those. She wasn't shooting the 410 out of it though. She was shooting a 45.
But I really don't know. I mean, it's something about it must appeal to somebody. Maybe like one of them pickup trucks that have the step sides. If somebody's like, I don't really use the bed anyway, so make it narrower so I can see my tires or like see lumpiness around my tires. You know, like some people really like that. They even made the PT Cruiser like that because of that, right?
I thought people that like step sides were just too afraid to drive dualies.
Well, they want exactly. They're like, oh, I like the idea of a dually. I wish I was a dually person, but oh my goodness, I'm never going to need that much weight in the back of my vehicle. Who would need that much weight? I don't need that much weight to kill a deer. But so anyway, there must be somebody that likes those revolvers. Somebody had one. Somebody, I don't remember. Somebody was saying their mom had one or something. No, you said your mom had one, but somebody back in the day said that it was like Tony from Illinois. But back in the day, somebody said the same thing. So maybe it's something that ladies feel like it's more of a big revolver. So maybe there's something about it. And then the other thing would be the noise. I've shot some olden ones, like old-fashioned ones, and maybe they were recreations. I really don't remember, but I remember being out at a range and some guy had some out there, and they definitely sounded. I mean, they're different to shoot, right? They sound different. They have a different. I don't know. I want to say impulse, but it's not really impulse. It's a different sensation, I guess, when you're shooting the thing. Because it's going off right in front of your face. Not really like a black powder and not really like a regular rifle, which is usually pretty quiet and not smoky right in front of your face. Let's see. If you want to eat, you need a 410. What do you mean? Like not having as much shot in the bird?
Yeah,
A
there's
little bit of red in your meat never killed anybody.
If I was shooting birds, I'd be shooting them with something that's like copper dipped or whatever they call that, copper coated, copper plated.
Here in PA, you actually have to use steel shot on waterfowl now, I believe.
Oh, okay, that's even better, right? So no
Yeah.
lead.
same. Got to use steel.
Just costs a lot more, I suppose. Or actually, now it probably doesn't even cost a lot more.
Yeah, it's not too much.
I think steel's super cheap right now. It probably is not as good for your barrel. That's probably why nobody likes using steel, right? It probably gets doesn't bounce. It probably bounces down the barrel and doesn't dent like lead. Probably it's like a whole bunch of little hammers going down the barrel.
A little bit.
It's basically like if you shot a bunch of steel 9mm down your barrel. Let's see. So I got a little double barrel Derringer 4570.
Ow. 4570 out of that little Derringer. Oh my lord.
Well, he's saying, but he shoots 410 out of it.
Right.
Oh, did you guys see? I cannot think of. I want to say it was Taurus, but they made a 12 gauge recently that apparently it was a bit too short to be legal shotgun, so they were just like, screw it, we'll make it a pistol. And I guess there's only like 50 of them out there or something, but these guys are shooting like 3.5-inch mags, 12 gauge out of a handgun.
Haven't seen it, but I'd be intrigued.
I want to shoot it in the worst freaking way.
Yeah, I think they quit using lead because, yeah, especially waterfowlers. At the end of the day, do you really want a whole bunch of people shooting a whole bunch of lead into the water?
Well, that's like last night I missed the chat. You guys had mentioned lead in the water and whatnot. Because someone said about getting lead from a boathouse or something. Around here, there's nothing against using lead split shot or anything like that. Proficient still. Majority of the that I find are all lead. The reason that Pennsylvania has switched to steel shot for waterfowl is, I guess, they were finding that a lot of birds of prey were eating, the ducks and geese and stuff like that, and we're getting lead poisoning.
I think ours is similar to that, but that's one of those ones where we don't ever get to see the data on that. They just tell us what we have to do, and that's what we do.
I'm waiting for them to say that we have to start using steel shot on small game as well, because you would think that that'd be a higher risk of the raptors eating small game rather than ducks or geese or anything.
You would imagine it makes sense, but when I'm out there, in Washington here, we still have a hell of a lot of eagles.
Yeah, we have incredible eagle population and hawks. Hawks have really put a hurting on the small game population here.
About 10 years ago, I was hunting in one of my favorite spots. I still hunt it. And I downed a duck that was maybe 40 yards out in the water, plopped right in the middle of the water. Fucking eagle jumps off a fucking tree, comes down, takes my duck, flies off. I just fucking stood up and saluted. You go, America.
Oh, man, that'd be awesome. My uncle was telling me this was, probably about 15 years ago now, but he was raising chickens, and he would randomly come home and there'd be feathers all over the yard, blood everywhere. He's like, what the fuck happened here? And he couldn't find any blood where the chicken's being drug off. He thought he had a coyote or something coming up, killing the chickens. He come home from work the one day, and in the field across the road from him, there was a bald eagle eating one of his chickens. He's like, oh, screw it, that's fine. Don't care. Bald eagle. I can handle that. Did it get quiet, or am I having...
I got quiet. Sorry. I had to talk to my wife.
Sorry about that. I think I fell asleep. So I'm awake again, and I don't know what you guys are talking about because I'm pretty sure I fell asleep. So they're saying steel shot is more abrasive. You're still talking about shotguns?
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how long I was out, but came back to chat being sound. Any other topics? Where are we at? What's going on? What time is this?
I think we're just past the hour mark.
We redeemed shotguns.
This is episode 1212. We're at 110. So totally messed up. Could try to end it at 1012. That's kind of a weird lopsided end of 1212.
So what are you saying? We need to go 2 more hours?
No, definitely not.
Oh, so here's a little fun strategy. Got on Indiegogo tonight to my pay came early, which I was like, oh hot damn, pay came early. But jumped on Indiegogo tonight, and when I looked at all the information on there, you're up to 1776.
Oh yeah, that was that was a while ago. That was earlier because it was at 48% or something like that when it was at 1776, and then last time I looked, it was at 50%. So it went up a little bit from that.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't want to break the 1776 mark, so I was like, well, I'll sit here for a little bit and just hit refresh every so often, see if somebody else breaks it first. Nobody did. I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna go and do my pledge and be the jerk that breaks 1776.
Right on. It's up to 49 now, so we're 49 backers, 53%, and just about 26 hours left. So I guess it'll end tomorrow. Yeah, top of the hour, so midnight tomorrow. And I didn't really want to chat too much about it tonight, only because we chat about it all the time. I don't want to like harp on it constantly. It's cooking. It's not a done deal. It's not given or nothing. Bugged a bunch of people about it. I think they're getting sick of me bugging them. So I think I've got as much help as I'm going to get from the others out there for something like this. But I think I already ordered the what do you call them, brakes and whatnot from the van chat earlier today. Somebody was mentioning they were out at the van chat. And then we'll get that stuff, towards the end of the week, Monday, something like that. Swap everything out, and then we'll see how the thing actually ends, minus the fees, and then see what we can do with what we got left. But yeah, the van will be in good shape, tip-top shape, maybe best shape it's been in, maybe not, but certainly good shape to go out and get places. And we're already talking earlier, or no, it was in the van chat, I think, about some of the potential destinations. So anyway, so Rob was saying, do I sell guns at shows? You mean like at gun shows? No. So I have before, but that's usually something I do in Arizona, so I don't have to worry about all the garbage going through FFL and all that. So no, not really. I mean, I do sell guns, but usually for me, I'm trying to get the most money I can out of them, or I know somebody that wants the thing. So I'm going to put them on like a gun broker or something where all the people that might be interested in, at least at that time, have an opportunity to bid on it. At a gun show, you definitely limit the number of people. It has to be somebody that goes to that show. They have to walk down your thing and actually see what you're looking for. They have to be interested in it and able to buy it. So you've just taken the pool and cut it in half and half and half. And then, depending on what it is, they may know you and decide that that's not the one they want. Like that's too much money or whatever. So they know what you got it for because they saw it. When you're talking certain things that you collect, if you own it, you bought it from somebody. And what do you think? You're the only person that was looking at it for sale? There might have been 3 other people looking at it for sale. And one guy really wanted it. He just didn't have money because of something going on and he couldn't get it. And then you snatched it from him at that price, and now you're selling it at that price. You know what I mean? Like, who knows what's going on with at a gun show, local. On the other hand, if I'm just selling something that's not all that interesting, maybe a commodity gun, like a lever action that's not interesting, it's just a gun to go hunting with or something, then why bother putting that online? Like, it's never going to sell. Put that kind of stuff. It's like selling a shovel. Maybe somebody going to school down here needs one, or there's fell in a ravine and they need one, or something happened and they need one. But anyway, no, I don't really sell stuff at shows. Plus the stuff that I own to sell at shows, the stuff I collect, I should say, that I would sell at shows is so weird that it's the same thing. Like my AK bayonets, I've taken those to shows before, and I might sell 1 or 2, and it doesn't even pay for the table. So complete failure, complete loss. Plus, you drag all that stuff along and you're messing with your collection. It's no longer in any order. It starts to get completely messed up. Things that are really similar that look the same, now it's tough to keep them separate and you have to go and scrutinize and remember what the hell the differences are between them all. So in the long run, for me, it's not worth it at all. Going online, and if there's only 18 people that want what I'm some weird collectible thing anyway, might as well let the 3 of them or 4 of them know that pay attention, because that's better than the somebody you're going to have to tell them what they're even looking at a gun show. So no, I don't bother. But I really, really, really like going to gun shows, and just because it doesn't work for me, there's tons of things that work at gun shows. And if there was a gun show that catered to what I'm doing, I'd be at that gun show, because that would attract all the people that whatever the gun show would be focused on, probably AK collecting. I don't think I've ever seen one like that, except I guess I have. The some of the shoots, like the Red October and the Kalashnik, whatever it's called in Texas, they have little mini gun shows. So I guess those are Kalashnikov centric. What about you guys? You ever sell guns at gun shows?
No, I bought a couple, but I didn't. That was before Super Infringement Washington.
I've sold a couple. Back after the Sandy Hook stuff happened, I had a Smith & Wesson M&P 1522 that's this was the most ridiculous looking gun you'd ever see. Single point sling on it, giant BSA red dot scope, bipod, flashlight, forward grip, whatever junk I could put on it, I had on there, and sold that for $1,000 after Sandy Hook. I was like, holy cow, somebody actually bought it. Then there was another time where I sold a 06 at a gun show. It was a 700 BDL mountain model, but the first kill that I had with it on a deer, I felt it was kind of tainted, so felt it was bad juju, and it was time to get rid of that. So I took it to a local gun show and got rid of it there and picked up something else. I don't remember what. And then there's been a few times where I've bought guns at gun shows, and inevitably it seems like there's always somebody who's like, that for sale for the right price. I'm probably not going to sell it, but if you got cash and it's the right amount, I'm not going to say no.
So Rob's saying he's got a big collection, does not sell them besides at gun shows. I guess on how to do things online. I don't know if I'd recommend. I mean, I guess that's definitely something you can do, right? It's definitely an option for sure. You're free to do that. However, think about that. You've got a collection of stuff, and if you've got the collection and you're not sure how to sell them, I'm guessing that you haven't been on forums or online places where you're talking with people constantly to have a finger on the pulse of how much everything's worth. And if that's the case, you're trying to get a finger on the pulse of what all your collection's worth, and you're trying to figure out this concept of online sales. If that's not something you're really fluent in and comfortable with, I think that's too many things to learn at one time, right? So I think that you might be interested in Cheryl Todd and Dan Todd do the Gun Freedom Radio podcast. Their day job is a gun shop and an auction house, and they will take what's it called, estates, right? When somebody passes away or inherits a bunch of stuff, then they don't know what it is, right? Same kind of situation, and they got a lot of guns, so they'll do periodic auctions, and I'm going to recommend them because Cheryl Todd is awesome. She helps me out personally. She helps out the Second Amendment community all the time. She does interviews with Second Amendment and industry people, I would say almost daily, not quite daily, but on a more consistent basis than almost anybody else out there. Definitely on a more consistent basis for a longer time than anyone else out there. So she's totally worthy and trustworthy and competent. Like I wouldn't send you to a place that is a little backwater dink place. She might not be the largest auction house. That would be the place in Illinois, Rock Island, but that would be another option, I guess. So Rock Island or something like that, one of the big online auction houses, they'll do their auctions periodically, and then their job is to get the most commission, right? So the most commission comes from the best prices on guns. Now, they also want to make a fair deal. So they're not going to be heavy to the buyer. They're not going to be heavy to the seller. They're going to be fair to everybody, making sure that they bring in enough sellers to make sure that they get the best opportunity for the highest price. And then they're going to take a cut. And I know I've dropped $30,000 worth of guns off to auction people before. So it's certainly an option. They'll take, a truckload of them because they're used to doing that. It's also something that they'll be familiar with facilitating, like, oh, you need to get 12 guns to us. Let's make that happen. I don't know if you've ever mentioned what part of the country you're in. They're in Phoenix, and I'm not sure how I'm only recommending them because I know they do it. I've never actually paid attention to what they do, so I'm not sure if I'm guessing they need the guns. So I'm guessing you would probably get all your guns to them, and then once they have them, they probably, like a lot of places, create the auction, whatever you call it, like guide or listings. And then, in Oklahoma, that's right. Okay, cool. Then, you're kind of right in the middle. Now, there's probably something similar to that in Oklahoma, but I also don't think there is, because if there was, wouldn't they be doing the J.M. Davis one? The J.M. Davis one was done by someplace in Texas, and the other one was someplace else. So I'm not sure. But we know there's one in Texas because they did the J.M. Davis one. They might be one of the fancy snooty ones that charges more for commissions than it's worth. Now, here's the thing. If your guns, you said you got a big collection. Let's say you got a big collection like mine. My big collection is all broken guns because I buy all my stuff broken and I never fixed them. So I just have a bunch of stuff that I acquired, but it's not worth much. Now, you could have a big collection of investment quality stuff like engraved fanciness, or stuff that you just acquired a long time ago and it's gone up in value. Those you might want to go to a fancy snooty auction where they get big buyers coming in and expecting to see rare quality, whatever, blah, 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 because then you're going to get more cash for it. But if it's regular guns and it's not the highest of end, I'd definitely recommend Cheryl Todd, and it's called Pot of Gold Auctions. And I don't know. Yeah, I bet you I can almost guarantee that if they can't help you, they will probably give you more info so that you can find someplace closer if they don't already know someplace closer. Or they might be like, hey, God damn, send your guns over. I know they have an auction coming up at the end of SAR show, which is usually the first weekend in December. So in other words, in early December is when they have their big military gun auction. And I suspect since most people, they've been doing that for years, since people come to that auction for the military guns, I suspect all guns would sell good, but I might be wrong. I would talk to them about that. Anyway, that's a big ass long commercial. I don't even say it's for free because Cheryl deserves every bit of recommendations that I think people can give her. Like I say, I know she's helped me. She helped us get the shipping out for the batch this year. Like literally, I was $2,000 under, and thanks to Cheryl, it's only $2,000 under, right? And I'm only one of the people that they help out. So they're definitely helping people out on multiple levels. Yeah, right on. There's a lot of good people out there. We're just the good ones that are also ethical and honest and upright. There's a bunch of other good people out there that'll every once in a while they'll stab you in the kidney. It feels like if you feel like it. Yeah, whenever I get out to Oklahoma, I think Miami is right near Tulsa, right? We'll see what happens. We'll see if we'll see how the campaign goes. I had scheduled into the campaign, going back to that, I guess. I won't put a link out there. That way we won't talk about it too much. But I think on stretch goals I had put in there for if everybody was going to be at the gun show, having some sort of a gun channels get together dinner. And I know how them people eat, so I put in there like $1,000 for that. I took everybody to a buffet in Vegas a couple of times now, and that ends up costing like $300-400, and that's at a $7 buffet. Like I go to the cheapest fucking buffet in Vegas, and then tell everybody like, here you get one drink, but and that for like whatever many people was like hundreds of bucks. So I figured going to a place in Oklahoma, it's probably going to be like some fancy restaurant. These people, once they're getting fed for free, they start their tastes get real fancy real quick, and champagne brunches and whatnot. So anyway, if that happens, a bunch of people start signing on. I keep saying, if all it takes is 1,000 people throwing $5 at that campaign, and that's a $5,000 campaign, right? So if only 30,000 people threw $40 each, we'd have hundreds of thousands of dollars in that campaign. And then I'll take everybody to dinner. If we get hundreds of thousands of dollars, I'll take everybody to dinner once. Not everybody, but the people in Tulsa. But anyway, do I travel solo? I bring my dog with me. Yeah, I travel in a van, so that or basically like a delivery / contractor van, a white, typical land white van, so that I can what is it called? Stealth camp, urban camp, where I'll just stay in parking lots on the cheap. And then I've got a gym membership, so I can use the gym for the shower and that kind of stuff. And then I usually bring like a bag and a half of clothes, so it lasts me a while. And then kind of go from a backpack into a laundry bag. And whenever the laundry bag gets fuller than the backpack, go to a laundromat. And that works out pretty good. It's no frills, and I'm only walking in and out of gun shops and gun museums, so I don't have to go to any fancy events or anything that way. But it works cheap, or it works to travel cheap, and then gives me plenty of time to work on stuff on the computer most of the time. I looked up your parts. They're the same as your 3500 truck. I imagine they're probably pretty close underneath, like drivetrain and engine and stuff, but they do get a little different when you get to some of the stuff like starters and things, because, I got a different top. You got more room. Some of the parts are the same, but like say some of the accessory pieces are crammed differently into mine. Oh, right on. Custom car shop. So fancy cars, I'm guessing.
You should, if you're ever through there, maybe you could soup up the van for you.
I don't really want to soup it up, but yeah, definitely if people have skills or resources. I know what it's like when you have a business or a service or something, and you can do something. Like I had a guy that was willing to paint. I got a bunch of rust spots. It's just a typical Chevy van. And if you don't know, they're notorious for their bad paint, booth circulation, ventilation, and vacuum. Just super sloppy technicians that'll slap those systems together and then never calibrate them and just run them to death. And because of that, the paint on my van is peeling a little bit. So it peeled off the one spot, and it's all rusty kind of. Not really, because it's Arizona. But somebody was all gonna help me do all that. And then it ended up snowing, so it wasn't really not snow. Yeah, it was snowing. Or it was about to snow. And when it's about to snow, that's when I get the hell out of Dodge, because I'm from Arizona. I don't like hanging around when it's snowing if I can help it. So I booked away from there. But we almost got the top of the thing painted one time. But it would be nice to. I don't like going into. I almost went to a Walmart once to get my oil changed, and I felt horrible. I felt like I was buying 9mm off the shelf, like off the streets or something. And then, how, I don't know if you ever had to do this before, but it's creepy. You go into the back of the Walmart, and then there's this line, because other people do this, I guess, go there to get their oil changed. And I don't know. I don't know why I went there. And I was in the line, and they came up, and they had some sort of like little Star Trek little thing, tricorder looking thing. and they were gonna like scan my van and do all this, and I'm like, I just don't want to be in Walmart's system. It's like, it's bad enough I buy stuff there. I was cooked on the tiny pies back then, so I was buying their tiny pies all the damn time, and I felt bad enough that I was even using the Walmarts as bathrooms and stuff, and I literally drove out of that line and parked someplace, found a local shop, and got the oil changed at a local place. I don't know. I mean, I like supporting local, but then there's just always that in the back of your mind. Like, I don't know, what if they're not good at this? Like, what if they break something? I don't know, something like that. So if I know somebody, I'm just way more comfortable because I can stand there and watch what's going on and be confident that everything's good to go. So yeah, if there's somebody out there that I can throw it on a lift and knows what they're doing and can check out things. Oh, I don't know. It's just little shit like the fuel pump. Make sure it's good to go, and let me know, okay, this thing's got like 7 years left on it, or this thing's got 7 weeks left on it. Or I don't know. You look under there and find out, like on the cop car, whenever I first got it, looked around underneath there and found out all the little rubber things that hold the exhaust in. Like those were all about to go. And what does that cost? $18 or something to swap all of them out. So that's kind of stuff that, having the opportunity to put it up on a lift where somebody isn't shooing me out of there right away. They like to get you out of there. With a car, they don't seem to care. You put a car on a lift, they'll let you walk around underneath it and look at it. You put a 1-ton van on a lift and they all get worried about letting you walk underneath it. I think he's saying he wants to put Lamborghini doors on the van. I guess that would be all right. We can do it in like half an hour, 45 minutes. Go to like one of them pit stops at a racetrack. I'll just pull in, pull the doors off, do whatever kind of fancy hinge work you got to do. Bam. And then maybe put automatic windows in there right away. It'd be kind of weird to have Lamborghini front doors on my van and then still have the manual like knobs. I like that'd be low class.
Yeah, you want to go keyless or something, right? Or you just hit a button and then.
Ooh, that'd be cool. Eight right now, building a 67. When I was a youngin', we were building a 72 Camaro. So that's my Camaro I'm most familiar with is a 72. But I think I like the 69s a lot too. I would always give them shit for not buying a 69. But a 69 is kind of, everybody gets a 69. At least back in the day, it seemed like that. All right. Well, I tell you what, as much as I like talking about the van, this isn't really a van chat, but we will have more of those since I will be getting out on the road, which is good because it's been a while. So we've been on the road technically since 2012. Back then, what the hell happened in 2012? I guess I had a truck, and one time I was minding my business, driving safely, paying attention, taking my dog to the place, because back in the day we used to put my dog in jail and go to SHOT Show without the dog because if you couldn't take the dog to SHOT and whatever, and it was mean to put him in a hotel all day. So we'd put him in dog jail and pick him up at the end. And I was taking him over to dog jail, and this kid stopped. Like, what do they call that when a kid stops in front of you and it's not your fault, it's their fault? That happened. So damn kid stopped in front of me, totally impossible to stop, smashed into him and just wrecked the front of my truck. And that was like 15 minutes before we were leaving to go to SHOT Show. So it turned out it was a decent truck, like a Chevy truck or whatever. It was like, it was a decent one. And it wasn't like old or nothing, but I forget what the kid had. This kid had some kind of a car that was enough to smash like literally the entire front out of my truck. It bent the radiator, bent the bumper, smashed the frick out of the hood. Like just every single cosmetic thing was broken on this thing. Nothing mechanical was broken. It like kind of bent the radiator a little bit, but not enough to leak or nothing. So the thing ran fine, but the headlights were like cross-eyed and looking at each other. It was just messed up. And the kid had like a dent in the spare tire on the back of his shit, like one of them hard spare tire covers. So I don't know what they make the front of that Chevy truck out of, like tin foil or something. So it just crumbled the front of my truck, and I drove around like that for, I don't know, 2 years because I'm cheap and wasn't going to buy another car or nothing. And nobody gave me a ticket. I got pulled over once from having like no front end. Basically, I took the hood off after a while because the hood was just so crushed. And it was just a pain in the ass to open it. So I just took it off. So I was driving around with this like smashed truck, and I would be going to Phoenix in it, shit, and that's pushing it because at some point I'm going to get a ticket on the highway with it. Anyway, and then it also just got lame driving around with a smashed truck. So that's when I bought this cop car. And I was like, well, I just bought an old ass cop car. I was already 20 years old or something, I think, when I bought it, 16 years old when I bought it. So I decided it's not going to live very long. I might as well do a road trip in it because hell, if I'm going to buy a cop car, and especially an old ass cop car, and not do a national, multi-state road trip in it. So that's when I got Haas down, and we took off, and we tried to unite all the YouTubers. That was in 2012. So that's when I consider the beginning of the tour, when I got the cop car, and we started the tour. And then I would tour in the cop car for a long time. So it's a 2000 Crown Vic. It was in Albuquerque. And then I'm the second owner out of Albuquerque. And then, basically, it just wasn't a good vehicle for what I'm doing now, trying to urban camp in it, right? I thought about turning it into like taking the passenger seat out and the back seat out and turning it into some kind of weird camping thing. But I don't want to be that guy. I really like my cop car being a cop car. So cop car is getting whatever you call it when you put it on blocks, basically, and I just pay to insure it to have it in the driveway. So it just sits in the back and has a cover on it and just sits there. And one day I'll be able to get it going again. Anyway, so then got the first van. I bought a van off of a school and was the second owner of that van because I like fleet vehicles. And that was a G30-86, so a 1986 Chevy 1-ton. And it was like a plumbing. I think it was the plumbing, or it was probably plumbing, not electrical. Whatever it was. If it was electrical, it was like parking lot electrical. Something where they had a lot of equipment that dented the crap out of everything in the back of that van. So that van is like wrinkled tinfoil everywhere. It's awesome. And it's in pretty decent shape for being an old beat up work van. And I let my Canadian friend drive it like once and he ruined it. Seized the engine. I don't know what he did to the transmission. Something they do in Canada to it. Twisted it in a knot. So it's destroyed. And so it's just sitting there also. So that's the beginning of my pile of vehicles. And then I got this other van. Eventually I'll get rid of this van and rebuild the old van and get the cop car going and do the tours in those old vehicles. But for now, I'm using this fancy new 2002. That's the rundown on the vehicles. School boats would be awesome. Gas is the problem. If I was super rich, maybe. But a couple of things with school bus. They chop them now. They don't. It's really hard to get a school bus. You can get an old school bus that they didn't ruin, but now they ruin them. They sort of like demilling them. They chop the drive shafts. They chop the frames. Like they ruin them so that they're good for sheds, and that's it. But they do not want people driving around school buses anymore. And then they're just so dang high. I mean, they are neat that you get a giant room and everything in there, but I think with those Transit, those Fords and the BMW, Mercedes, yeah. Those things are so giant inside. They're just amazing. They look stupid as hell. They look like a dumbass space shuttle looking stupid thing. But so does my van. My van looks dumb as hell. And I've nothing to do about it. Like I didn't design the outside and I don't look at it that often. So I would do the same thing. If I had a Transit, I would just be like, dumbass looking vehicle. What am I going to do about it? Because every time I'm inside of it, it would feel like I got a crazy European apartment.
When I was in Canada, I saw lots of junkyard projects rolling down the road. My favorite were when they would take a short bus and stack it on top of a regular, like a 60 passenger bus, and have a double decker that sort of looked like the humpback trailways buses from, I don't know which decade that might have been, but those were pretty wicked. And I saw a bunch of them just, half buried in the ground on little like 1 acre parcels where they just cross cut a driveway into the thing, and stick a potbelly stove in it and stuff like that. Kind of reminds me of Alexander Supertramp a little bit up there in Alaska.
Oh yeah, I don't know how many of those there are, but I'm guessing we might have seen the same ones. You know what I mean? Like there can't be that many of them, but I've definitely seen a couple myself. And yeah, I mean, when somebody's clever and that's inexpensive, and that's good stuff to meld together. And then there's like porches and stuff, so you're up in the air. It's really neat when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're up on the second floor like that. So, otherwise, like I say, I really like vans. I mean, you don't stand up in them. At least I don't stand up in them. But I mean, there's nowhere to go, so there's no reason to stand up. You stretch your legs, you got to get outside, I guess. But aside from that, you can park in a parking spot. Nobody raises an eyebrow. They almost turn invisible. Like they're literally invisible. I am more worried about getting hit by somebody who just doesn't even pay attention to me being there than almost anything else. Like that's my biggest worry, because I'll see people. I mean, I don't know if you've ever driven a white van before, but if you drive a white van in a city, people just look right through it. You can just tell that they don't see you. And then as you're, let's say, going slowly around a curve. There's this one curve in Tucson that I have to do this at, and they'll sort of a T intersection. People just not see it. Like you can see them not registering that you're there and starting to pull out. And then I'll usually turn my lights on because it's so old that it doesn't have the lights that turn on right away. And I'm not. Sometimes I turn the lights on, but I don't do it anyway. But anyway, sometimes that'll work. Like I don't always have to honk or anything. But yeah, it's enough that I have to be on the lookout, especially if it's like crowded and people are trying to pull in front of somebody. It's like they don't look at us. It's probably the same with my motorcycles, right? Anyway, because of all that,
but even more deadly.
Because of that, what he's saying with being incognito exactly is that it just you can almost park anywhere, literally anywhere. You can park in an alley, and you could literally park anywhere in a white van for a while, like just about anywhere, even the most inappropriate places, because pretty much everybody assumes you're delivering something or fixing something. And as long as they don't push your luck, not even a problem. And if you are willing to push your luck, you can stay very close to awesome places sometimes for free. And it's just a little bit annoying because you don't have like all the amenities, let's say. But yeah, totally worth it for me for what I'm trying to do, which is basically just get my eyeballs on my cameras to places. So anyway, I don't want to talk too much about that because I am getting a little bit. I was tired, got a little bit jazzed up there, but we've been going for 2 minutes or 2 hours. Yes and no. They had for a long time let anyone, but then there's caveats, and now I'm finding out, or I don't follow channels that are urban campers anymore, but because I have looked at those videos and stuff, it'll sometimes throw them at me. And there's different types. There's people that literally don't have a home, and they just, for the financial side of it, they'll live in their vehicle. And that makes a lot of sense when you're young or whatever. If you're going to school and then you also have a job, so you're really just paying to have a bed somewhere. Like these people just put all the stuff in the back of their vehicle and just sleep in their back of their car or something, and use the gym at school or something, and never even need an apartment for a couple of years or semesters or whatever. Save some money. So there's people like that. I imagine there's just people that are down on their luck and need to be in a vehicle for a bit, and then just well, people that go on vacation, let's say, that aren't really doing anything in particular, but they don't like paying for campgrounds, or maybe they just don't, they're looking for something else. So anyway, watching those kind of videos, I've seen that there's less and less of the appreciation or tolerance, I guess, of people hanging out. And then it's probably a little bit of if there's any kind of economic thing. I imagine if that creates more people that are in the financial situation where they have to, then that's a whole different situation. You know, they're going to be there every night. Where somebody who's trying to be stealthy, like when I was in Denver, you can't really stay anywhere in Denver. You basically can go somewhere for a few hours and then get the hell out of there and go somewhere for a few hours and get out of there and go somewhere for a few hours and keep moving because there's so many security or just, you know, stuff going on. There's just not a lot of things open, and there's enough people looking around to make sure nobody's loitering, and all kinds of different situations out there. But anyway, it used to be where you could just stop and when Bob was coming down in his big camper, 16, 17, very easy for him to camp for free. In fact, back then you could go to the edge of the Walmart parking lot, open up, you know how these campers get wider, things bellow out of the side of them and stuff. Like, you could set up, you could open up all your stuff. I've seen people with a piece of AstroTurf and their lawn chairs next to it, you know, like they're at a campground. As long as you're not dumping trash, they're pretty much just A-okay because they know you're coming in and buying stuff from them. Well, like I say, I've been through Oklahoma quite a few times, and I don't really go to Walmarts too much. Although, like I say, for just a couple hours, I will. They're just not consistent enough, and now it's tough, at least out here, because the Walmarts aren't 24/7 anymore. But when they're 24/7, I don't know if the last time you went to one, but for the last 2 years, pretty much all around the country, the Walmarts put in these little robot things with like lights on them. So there'll be like a little generator robot. I don't know what, some sort of like little contraption. It's like a trailer. It's like a work trailer with lights on it, except that it's got all kinds of police cameras and stuff on it. And I'm pretty sure it's either some kind of security system or Walmart put it in, but it's to prevent people and thinking from hanging out, to stop, I guess, crimes in the parking lots. I'm really not sure, but those things have been around for a while, and fewer and fewer and fewer of the Walmarts are even open 24 hours. And this is way before this year. Just in the last couple of years, there's fewer Walmarts that'll even be open in a town 24/7, and the ones that close almost never want you around. Like, once they're closed, they want their parking lots empty because their sweeper guys come in, and they've got all kinds of other things like trucks coming in and stuff. So, and I guess there's always an exception to the rule, but most of the ones that close don't want you around. The ones that are open are the ones that seem to be less worried about it. But whatever. Like I say, I'm going to find out, hopefully. And that's one of the reasons I like driving, or I'm curious about driving now, is because I am going to be able to compare it to what the situation had been like, let's say, under less stressful times. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Walmart parking lots are a lot like truck stops. They, you know, after dark, it turns into the land of lot lizards and crankheads.
Now, I've been to places where, yeah, I mean, they literally almost have it. You know, like they might as well have a sign saying, "Here's where the campers go," or whatever. But and truck stops is the thing. It's like I'd much rather go to a truck stop. If there's a real truck stop, like a TA or a Flying J, like an actual truck stop, those are usually on the side of town and not right in the middle of town anyway. And you were talking about this the other day. I'm the opposite. If I can find a truck stop where I can get in between two semis, or like a rest area where I can get in between two semis that don't shut off, that's my favorite thing ever. Because then I've got me and my van in between all that vibration and noises and stuff. The worst is when I find someplace like that and stop, and they hate it. I'm sure they hate having some car next to them because they seem to hate it. But whenever I do that, and then I wake up and they're gone. It's like, oh dang, because I like waking up and yeah, great, we're still here. Anyway, yeah, and well, I don't know. Like I say, I don't mind that at all. It's like getting a free vibration bed at a hotel for free all night long. You never get to stop it because it's constantly going. Now, when you were saying that the other day, you were saying about the refrigeration. I thought you were going to say like exhaust or something. Like if there's exhaust smell or something like that, no, I ain't going to be there. I'm not going to be dealing with that. But just the sound or whatever, I'm down with that. Anyway, those things are also free, and you got showers there. In fact, they encourage you to be in their parking lot. They'd rather you be there than in a rest area or something else because, again, you're going to go into their place to go to the bathroom or something. Probably going to buy coffee there, right? You're going to buy something there that they're turning water into money. So, what does it cost? And then when you're sitting in their parking lot, it makes it look more attractive for somebody who's driving by. So, I've only ever been in one place where there's like signs that say you got 2 hours and then move along, and that's in Vegas, in the town of Vegas. The truck stops there. You can only stay for 2 hours. Right. And that's something I don't get normally. I'll get like a little bit of vibration driving the van, but when you're driving and everything, you're sitting on it, you're just getting butt vibration. When you can lay down and get that vibration all in your whole spine and everything, maybe that's the other thing is that instead of coming up your butt, like up and down your spine, it's laying down. It's getting from the side of your spine, like literally like a massage. But that's the other thing is I'll go to my gyms and hang out because my gym don't care if you're in the parking lot all night. And I can go to the bathroom in my gym, I can take a shower and all that kind of stuff. But they also have robot massage parlors in there. So you go in there and spend some time laying down on top of a robot that massages you. And that's free. Yeah, I can't even imagine. I've never been in one, but that's got to be probably the best sleep ever, right? You got your truck right there. What are you saying?
I was gonna say I can tell you this. Whenever I was driving truck, we didn't look at the four wheelers parked in the truck spots. Like, oh shit, there's a four wheeler there. It was, oh shit, there's a four wheeler there that has taken up a spot that I friggin' need because he could be out in the parking lot where we can't go, and he's taking up this perfectly good spot that I could need to put my 18 wheeler for the night.
Same thing with motorcycles and parking lots, but I go both 2 wheels and 4. All I know is the nimble placement of a motorcycle is a lot more flexible. And what I don't get is when there are designated motorcycle spots and dudes will prop right dead center in the thing. And so you either block them, you can't go side to side. So you have to, go in the back, back behind them or something like that. Ruins it.
Did he cut out?
No, it's just me bitching.
Well, but barbecue, you were saying like when you're sitting there in a car and the trucks come in. Yeah, that's what I end up.
Yeah.
Too long. I'll do it if it's like somewhere where I can tell there's only like 2 trucks in the whole thing, or if I'm at a truck stop and I can be like in the closest car thing to the truck area. But yeah, if I'm in a rest area and I don't really like going over to the truck thing. They just get pissed when you're taking up a whole truck stop or a whole truck parking space.
Yeah, there's been times where I pulled into somewhere, down to minutes on my clock, and I go to swing into a spot, and I'm like, son of a bitch. There just be some guy with a dually that's parked there, no trailer or anything. He's just, parked there sleeping or something. I don't know what the hell he's doing, but I'm like, God damn it, that's a good spot that I need, and you could be out, in the friggin' car.
Well, the thing is, that's the thing. I could see it with a dually. When I was young, we had was it a dually? I think if it wasn't a dually, it doesn't matter because it was the longest bed you could get and a full size cab. So it was basically the longest thing you could get that wasn't like didn't have a pivot in it. Like it was just amazing.
Like crew cab with a foot bed.
A full back, yeah, it was a 350, a Ford 350 with the full back seat, like not just it had like a full set of doors. It was the dumbest thing in the world. And then it had a full, like not just like, a lot of times with them full back seats, because that's like not just a king cab. That's like a weird double cab thing. And then they'll put like a short cab on it or a short bed on that because otherwise it doesn't even fit in a parking spot. And this thing did not fit in a parking spot. And that's sort of what the van is like. The van has like 11 and a half feet between the wheels. So it technically can fit in a parking space, but it's not a wall behind it. So what I'll do is I'm with Woods there, but I'll find a place and I'll pull through the wrong way. And then, you know what I mean? So that my ass of the van is a quarter into the parking spot behind me, but I'm pointed straight out because otherwise I can't back that thing out for the shit. It's a pain in the ass. If somebody parks weird, I'm pinned in there, So I could see somebody in the dually doing the same thing. Like it's just so much easier to take up 2 spots and pull through, or like that, take a whole truck spot. But at the same time, everybody knows that those truck side of rest area in some places, a lot of places, is going to get way more than standing room only. They're going to be all up the entrance, all out the exit, double booked on top of each other. So the last thing they want is some stupid ass single car on their side.
Yep, I'm saying I know exactly what you mean about your van because I've got a 2500 HD Silverado. Obviously, I don't get to drive it anymore, but whenever I need my big smoker pulled somewhere, it's nice to still have my truck because then all I got to do is find a driver.
Oh yeah, and that smoker is probably big on its own, right?
That's probably about 12 foot or so from tongue to tail, but
it's not like a little cement mixer on the back of your truck. I mean, it's a full size vehicle behind you.
Yeah, definitely not. But yeah, my truck alone, it's just an extended cab. So I mean, it's got the bench seat in the back that way I could fit all the kids back there and whatnot. But it's still only half doors or 3/4 doors. It's not the full 4-door. But it's still got the 8-foot bed. And then I was young and dumb and decided to put a ranch hand bumper on it because I could. So I mean, that's thing.
You can stand up on it. It's like a fire truck on the side.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what we had.
Whenever that thing has to get parked somewhere, I'm like, park somewhere you can take up 2 spots.
They had a deal. I don't think we had it, but I think my grandma kept getting mad that we didn't. Like there was some sort of electric thing, like that thing, except when you were driving, it would like landing gear. It would pull up and not be in the damn way of everything and scrape it into everything you turn past. Because you can't ever turn anywhere because that thing's so damn long. So it's like, oh, you can barely turn this thing ever, and you're constantly going to be scraping down the middle of the vehicle anyway. Guess what? Let's put a giant thing that makes it even wider down the middle of the vehicle. Like that giant. Horrible. But I can never recommend getting that full back seat. It was the dumbest thing ever. And we never put it. It was like most that ever sat in that truck was 2 people ever. Most of the time, 1 person in that truck. So basically, like, there's not a blind spot. There's only like 2 spots you can see out of in that truck. It's just nothing but blind spot. Just dumb. It's just a dumb vehicle. At least that one, that giant Ford thing was stupid. And it had like a snowplow on the front.
Oh, shit.
So not all the time, but in winter it had a snowplow in the front. So now it was 1,000,000 feet long, and now it had a snowplow on the front of a pickup is just obnoxious. Period. There's nothing you can do to not make that obnoxious. That thing was horrible.
What motor do you have in the van, G?
Do I have? I just have a regular 5 regular gas.
Yeah, it's the 5.3.
Yeah, the standard one.
5.7.
Diesel and there's electric
Sure.
gas, whatever. I have the regular.
Oh, you say 5.7?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty standard engine at the time. It's a fleet vehicle. I got that one because it's a fleet vehicle that had a pretty decent reputation and a pretty common engine. I
Yeah.
think the transmission's pretty common too. Luckily, I'm never gonna have to change that again.
I just wanted to make sure you didn't have the 6.0. My pickup
No.
has the 6.0 in it, but I remember you said you were planning on doing plugs, and the 6.0s I know require plugs that are iridium coated for some reason, because Chevy's a pain in the ass. So, and if you don't get the ones that are iridium coated, they don't fire right. But you got the 5.7, so I don't think you have to worry about that.
I've never heard anybody say anything about that, but it could be, like I say, that's why I would like to get somebody who knows their way around, especially if I could find somebody who knows their way around fleet vehicles, Chevys, that'd be great. But just somebody who's a mechanic, because like earlier we were talking about stuff and I didn't think about the bearings. So I learned about a couple of things little dollar items to pick up that, make life easier when I've got the whole thing taken apart. But I tell you what, we just hit the 2 mark and I am getting pretty tired and I'd rather go to sleep than try to push it. So I do appreciate it. We had a pretty good string of chat. Thanks to y'all. So thanks to Barbecue and DJ for sure for jumping in so often and being part of the show. Everybody's welcome, of course. We keep throwing links out there, but we've had pretty good luck with chat conversation as well. So that's really what it's all about. And I got some stuff done earlier when everybody was just chatting. So that's
Oh, that's great. And saying for coming up with such a great topic tonight of shotguns.
Yeah, that's Woods. That's what he's going to do. And I dropped that link to Pot of Gold Estate, which is Pot of Gold Auctions, which I was talking about. So happy to plug them again anyway. Cheryl Todd and Dan Todd do a podcast. They've been doing it now for, pretty much since 17, I think. And like I say, not quite daily, but often, many, many times each month, often many times each week. Kind of probably depending on what they've got going on with their businesses and with their personal life. And then they spend pretty much every waking moment other than that recording these interviews with Second Amendment advocates, with people that are in the industry, but mostly Second Amendment advocates. Really, really interesting stuff and a good format. Originally, it was a format with like a 2-hour format with like 8 guests. And honestly, it was a good conversation because they ask interesting questions and they know a lot about what's going on. So the questions they asked were valid and would illuminate more and more of the big picture for people that listen to their stuff as a series. But the only real problem is that they didn't have a lot of time to talk to anybody because they had so many guests on in the first couple of years of their show. But this year and maybe a little bit of last year, they kind of changed the format up, and now they basically do single conversations with people. They'll have like maybe an hour podcast, half an hour, maybe an hour, kind of in between there, not really set. And they'll talk mostly to the person who's their guest, and then usually the last 10 minutes or so, they'll let the guest go and they'll reflect on what they talked about and then address any other specific things, so that their show is 90-80% interviewing a guest, but then a little bit of current events and just other info as well. So it is definitely a good show, one of my favorites. And in addition to that, they run a gun shop, which is a really good gun shop. I've seen a few, and theirs is an interesting one. The van is a gun guy, not just a gun shop owner. So he's got a pretty decent collection of interesting things, but he leaves them all for sale. So it's a really good shop that he's creating something that's interesting to gun people. So that brings stuff in and it feeds on itself. And there's really not a lot of those in there in Phoenix. There's most of the gun shops in Phoenix I would call them commodity shops, filling the needs of concealed carry, mostly a little bit of hunting or sports shooting, but mostly concealed carry, just fill in the needs, what you'd need for a big city. So the shops that are old, that might just have a lot of stuff accumulated or just have their own flavor, are kind of few in Phoenix. And their gun shop's called AZ Firearms, is definitely one that is worth checking out. Just even if you don't have any money, like just to go in there and hang out, and they don't mind. It's not quite a museum heavy, like I've been to some shops that are almost like museums. It's not quite like that. It's just definitely an interesting, lot of variety type of gun shop, and about medium size. It's not little for sure. Not the giant, largest one you've ever been in either, but it's definitely not little. So anyway, they do the gun shop. They also do the auction house, and the auctions, of course, do have guns occasionally or most of the time. So happy again to recommend them. It sounds like it might work for what you're doing there. What else we got there? Is my email posted? Yeah, it's just gunwebsites@gmail.com. So you know how it is. If you don't really want to post it online because little robots will go around, little electronic software that will scoop them up. So most of the time, people will type it in some alternate way that gets the point across. But ours is easy. It's just Gmail. Gun websites, and then the @ sign, and then Gmail. The hell is going on here? So now I have to go over to YouTube, and I have to open up the thing, and then we got to block this guy who's spamming the chat. All right. So yeah, feel free to email me, and oh yeah, so I did that. That's how we got Woods in here. You're saying Piglet. I just put some very raw bacon on the screen today, or on the thumbnail today, and that's how we got Woods in here. Because even though it's very, very raw, you can still smell the bacon cooking. With that, I think we're done. Unless you guys want to plug anything on the way out?
I've got nothing.
I'm looking forward to tomorrow evening. What is our general topic for Wednesdays? It was media development?
Entertainment.
Entertainment. Right on.
All right. So with that, we'll be back to pick you up later.